Hello all and welcome to episode 88 of the Green Arrow and FPL podcast by fantasyfootballhub.co.uk with us somehow still in the middle of game week 23, the longest game week ever, with the Dennis red card seemingly forever plastered on our FPL points screen. My name is Fergi and I am joined as usual by two FPL legends. Firstly, Adam Hopcroft. How are you, Adam? And what colour is your arrow currently in game week 23?
It's currently green at the moment. It's I wouldn't say it's going grey, but I think it's going better than the majority of people. I avoided a certain player that I think everybody got FOMO with
Who shall remain nameless. No,
I think I avoided Dennis. There was always the temptation to do either Antonio or Ronaldo to Dennis, but Rich said it. I don't know if he said it last week or the week before, but just Watford rubbish. So why have double Watford? And that sort of stuck in the back of my mind when he said that. I think it was the week before last, and I did fancy Norwich to get something from that game, not as emphatically as they did. So there's a lot of luck involved. I mean, I think anybody, whilst I didn't expect Dennis to go off or any Watford player to really go off. That will go off. I think in terms of getting a haul, maybe I've missed probably a good use of a pun there. But I think I didn't expect him to get sent off, and I think any non-owners have got fairly lucky there, particularly with how many people captained him. So I'm on 40 points. I've got De Gea, Trent, Rudiger, and Cancelo. Of those four, Rudiger and Cancelo and Trent have let me down. The other two returned. In midfield, I have Rafinha, who got nothing. Maddison, who got nothing. Bowen got me nothing. And then I had Jotter, who got me a fortunate assist, shall we say. And then Mount, who was probably the star of the show for my team, really. He got a nice assist. And to be fair, I thought he played well. And I know it was a contentious call to start him over Antonio, and it only gave me 4 points, but every little counts in that. And then Ronaldo with a nice 2-pointer and King with a huge haul. Well, let's see if he gets an assist, even if he comes away with 5 points versus Burnley, I'll be delighted with that. So yeah, it's all in all, it's okay. I saved a transfer as well, so going into this week with 2.
Very good, mate. And green so far up to 58k and looking decent. So well played on avoiding Dennis. Torben in the chat says, "Is Dennis officially an FPL legend now?" You just can't make this stuff up, can you? It doesn't seem to happen week to week, does it? You either get these injuries or these really random events when it's primed for double captain. Can't wait for the triple captain Salah in 26, which I'm sure we're going to talk about very soon. Of course. We also welcome back Rich Clarke. How are you, Rich? And what colour is your arrow in game week 23?
Hi everybody. Hi Fergie. So far, yes, it's green so far. Similar story to Adam. I didn't buy Dennis. Was very tempted to sell Ronaldo midway through the afternoon. On the Friday, I hovered over the button to get rid of Ronaldo for Dennis, but I think I remembered the conversation of a couple of pods ago, and
for the shit
where I'd said to Fergie, I don't know whether I swore, but I just said, look, do you really think about what you're doing? Do you really want two Watford attackers? And although it was really tempting to get rid of Ronaldo, I didn't, and it was mainly because. For me, you'll see the state of my bus team later, but I knew I'd need 2 transfers, and that was what kept. It needed incredible willpower not to do it, because all the temptation was about doing it in the last half an hour and getting the 3 Watford and stuff like that, and I just can't remember having to use my willpower anymore. But I'm on 36 points with King as my captain, so hoping similar for any returns on Saturday, and that'll be back in the top 10k hopefully, so that'll be great.
And already Ronaldo in situ as well, which is obviously nice as well. Pretty well set
absolutely
up for next week. So
as it's turned out, yeah.
Good stuff, gents. Moving quick onto my team. I'm on 32. Trossard kind of let me down. I have got him for the double now in 25, but Ramsdale 8-pointer, quite unexpected, I would say. Obviously De Gea kept the clean sheet, I think first, didn't he, with the 6, so I was gutted at Ramsdale, but obviously Ramsdale 8, which is good. Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, Jotter, Bernardo, Bowen and Trossard, Antonio, King, Dennis, captain, unbelievable. I've actually had an incredibly emotional week or two, and I've had a hat-trick of disasters.
Before you go through that, Fergie, I've got a question. Have you got your violin with you?
I got it.
I think you need to give yourself a violin. You need to give yourself a violin.
This is going to be a triple violin. So for those who didn't see it, hat-trick of disasters this week started off with me flipping a fake coin to determine my captain. So my captain was on King, but for those who didn't see it, and for those who did, watch what I did on the deadline stream.
Just while we're on the captaincy between King and Dennis, I've got it on King. I'm going to flick a coin now, but I'm not going to look at it. It's going to help me decide what I want it to come out as. So I'm going to flick the coin now. Dennis is heads, King is tails, and I want it to be heads, and I haven't looked. So, and it was heads, which I'm pleased with. So I'm going to change it to Dennis.
I mean, what can you say? What can you say about that? So, so I plumped for Dennis, which was obviously not the best. I mean, red card. I mean, come on. Of all the 50-50s.
The thing I loved about it, Fergie, was like you were like a little boy, on his birthday or at Christmas, and you're just going, I really want it to be Dennis. I really want it to be Dennis. So, it's Dennis, and that just had me. That was fantastic.
That's like waiting for what would it have been when we were kids, waiting for a Nintendo or something and getting a pair of socks
or a Subbuteo or a striker set,
lovely juicy tangerine. But the other thing, which you haven't seen, which has left me absolutely distraught, are that these two absolute FPL legends in Adama Traore and Keenan Davis both left the Premier League this week. Keenan Davis, my love for Keenan, he's been a stalwart in my team the last 2 seasons, as you know, and I tipped up Adama through his underlying stats in the opening game weeks. But both of them, at least temporarily, have left the Premier League to ply their trade elsewhere. And to signify this now, we're going to have a 10-second silence for all those FPL managers, including myself, who punted on them following my advice.
I do the clap as well, after the silence.
That was 10-second silence for Adama Traore and Keenan Davis, who both left the Premier League in January 2022.
Keenan's on fire at the moment. 2 and 2.
He is. He's absolutely on fire. A triple violin for Fergie, absolute nightmare. And anyway, looking forward. Let's move forward. For any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams every week right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. As we are live, please feel free to join the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics throughout the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions throughout. FPL Gaza says, Adam, thank you so much for Matty Target. He'll be missed. I've always liked Target. He hasn't quite maybe reached the heights this year of what he's done the previous season or two, but he's always been really good. FPL SWAT is in the chat. We can't give an update on SWAT's team yet because he hasn't updated his Twitter. Hint, hint, FPL SWAT. Update your Twitter every week with your score, and we'll get it on there. We have Mikael Pawson in the chat, and Knadpa Relic returns. Khan Sharma says, hit like and subscribe. He knows what he's talking about. Get it on there. Relic returns, FPL D-Chin, John L, and everyone else. Absolutely fantastic to have you all with us. Thank you all so much. So this week, we're going to take a look at the best time to get Salah back into our FPL teams. We'll also look at our updated chip strategy and which players we have our eye on for the coming game weeks. Interesting kind of breaking news this afternoon from In the Know. Follow at Spion or Spion Cop, Spion Cop, but he's in the know. He's pretty good normally, on everything Liverpool. And he said that Liverpool and Leeds has been rearranged. I think it was Wednesday, the 23rd of February, I want to say, which would mean a double game week 26 for Liverpool, home to Norwich, home to Leeds. Not bad at all, which obviously also mean a double for Leeds as well. Rich is going to talk us through a draft game week 24 wildcard team, which he has put together. He isn't wildcarding, but he's put one together for those who are looking to wildcard. We'll then look at the best captaincy options for game week 24. We'll hold our weekly competition and finally take a look at the top of the @FFH_Green Arrow Mini League. Don't forget, all the data we show and much, much more is available for you to use yourself at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. You can join using the link below for a 7-day free trial. So firstly, we have the fixtures from game week 24 to 29. I have been talking non-stop for the last 15 minutes or so I will shut up and I will hand over firstly, if it's okay, to Adam. And Adam, what are your thoughts on Salah? What are your thoughts on Liverpool? What are your thoughts on the next few weeks in FPL?
Where to start? So I'll answer the easy question first. I think it's very rare, and particularly this season, that FPL throws you like an obvious opportunity. I mean, a really obvious opportunity. I think if you were to write potential opportunities to triple captain, you're not going to get much better than Newcastle and Norwich at home. Bearing in mind, so Newcastle, Norwich, Leeds and Norwich at home. Bear in mind, I think you can look at fixture congestion, but you'd think that Salah will play the majority minutes, best player in the league, and his record against both teams is pretty good as well. So you've got a hat-trick versus Leeds last season. He's done well versus Norwich the times that he's played them. I think it's a risk not to triple captain him. That's what I would say. I think he's going to be. We know it was Kane last season, one of the first players to be over 200% effective ownership. Salah will be 250. I think. Agree. Yeah, I think everyone will use that opportunity. So the question is, when do you bring him back in? And I'll tell you, I think it is really, really team dependent on this. But I would probably suggest that either next week or I think next week's a good week to bring him back in personally. So they've got Leicester at home, Burnley away. Is that right?
Yes.
I think with AFCON, there's a risk of minutes against Leicester. He plays on Sunday. Liverpool play on Thursday. You'd think he's not going to be back until Monday. He might even get a couple of days off. I don't think he'll start versus Leicester. I think it's unlikely. So I don't think you need to bring him in and versus Leicester personally. Obviously, if you got him, that's a bonus. But I think Liverpool might even give those guys that game off and come back for the weekend because they're going to need some break. It's been an intense competition. My plan is to bring Salah in for game week 25, where everyone's looking at Bruno and that. I quite like bringing in Salah for that game week personally, because I just think I'm going to be bringing him in anyway. Burnley away isn't a bad fixture, so that's my current thought. That's my current thought process. What do you reckon, Rich? Are you similar? Or you disagree? Or
I hope you can hear me. I'm having a few internet issues, but
yeah, hear you fine, loud and clear.
I'm good. I'm gonna probably bring Bruno in, but it's team specific. I'll definitely be bringing Salah in for 26, but because of my team, and you'll see it later on, and the budget I've got and the hits I don't have to take, it just makes sense for me to leave Salah for this week and bring in Bruno this week, which I can do with them, play the double, and then bring him in 26. So that will be my strategy, unless something drastically changes before Monday.
So in terms of game week 24, then obviously the game isn't until Thursday. We think that Salah is either going to play in the final or in the third and fourth playoff on the Sunday. Do you think there's both of you have said, I think I'm in agreement as well, and I think I'm in agreement because there are quite a lot of other captaincy options, aren't there, in 24? There's a lot of really good plum home fixtures for teams like Man City, even Liverpool themselves, people like maybe Trent, maybe Jotter. West Ham against Watford looks like it could be a very profitable one as well. You're not concerned at all, or even if he does play and I don't know and gets a few points, do you just think that regardless of that you're happy to kind of hang on until 25-26? And Adam,
I actually think I think I would, if I was going to bet on one thing, I'd on Thursday.
Yeah.
And that he will be it'll be a kind of rest type of benching. They'll bring him on if they're losing or they need a goal to equalise. But if they're winning the game, I think he'll stay on the bench because he'll be available. But I would bet that's what I'd bet on as the outcome. So there's no way I'm going to captain him if I think that is the likely scenario, that he comes on for a 1-pointer or he comes on late in the game. He's just played a 7-game tournament, and if you go back to the Euros, some of the England boys, they needed 6 weeks off after that, when they reached the final. So 3 or 4 days. I mean, I think Klopp will rest him, and he's just bought. Has it Diaz, the new signing, 37 million? He's a winger.
Yeah,
he's got a debut against Leicester and rest Mane and Salah, hasn't he? So
yeah, I think that's
what I'd do.
A really good point. And there's also a lot of fixtures in this time. So it looks like Liverpool are going to play 7 times in February. I think it's 6 times in 18 days and 7 times in 22 days. There's a lot of football there if you include Champions League and and thing as well. There's a lot of football there. But just going back to 26, we've already mentioned about the triple captain for game week 26, which looks really obvious. I suppose one thing, I had a quick look earlier, and it looks like 5% of the top 10k have already used their triple captainship. 25% overall have used it as well. So there are still gains there. But I've seen a few people saying, I'm going to try and be different, and I'm going to try. And it's just like the way I think about that is with Salah as a triple captain against those, you're kind of betting against scoring, like a 25-yard free kick against just scoring against an open goal, and it may happen and you may do well, but it's very unlikely. And as you say, Adam, and I think you're right, his EO is going to be about 250% in the top couple of 100,000 places, and if you don't do it, you're just opening yourself up, aren't you, for an absolute rank hammering. So yeah, I would those who are considering going against him just to be different, just try and climb rank. There are opportunities, including this week for captaincy, for example, because there is no standout captain this week, and even if there was a standout captain, the one kind of on everyone's lips is only 15% owned anyway, and we'll touch on the captaincy later. In terms of chips, then chaps. I was contemplating an early wild card. Obviously, the fixtures still haven't dropped yet.
I saw your team earlier. I would wild card. I mean, it's not in good nick, is it?
To be fair, it's really well set for 24. Actually, it's not so much after, but yeah, I was contemplating it because of 120k, which is it's fine, but I do see an opportunity to maybe get ahead a little bit, on some of the players which Evan will be bringing in a little bit later. I still might do it if the fixtures drop and they drop kindly for a big double in 25, 26, etc. I still may be tempted to. And
what, this week?
No, sorry, no. So no, I'm
Next
definitely not
week.
this week. Either ahead of the Man United double in 25, or more likely ahead of 26, which is the Liverpool one. And I was thinking, like, my thoughts, because I've used one free hit already, could then and if I don't use it in 26, which if the Liverpool double drops in there, I think it'd be a waste actually. What I could do is dead end my team maybe into 26, free hit into 27 maybe, and then wild card into 28, because you're kind of wild carding into then, you can plan for 29 if you haven't got a second free hit, and there's teams like Man United and West Ham then whose fixtures turn quite drastically actually, but then there are teams like Arsenal, Chelsea, Leeds, etc. who have got really good options and lots of doubles ahead who to go into. Roughly how I'm looking at the moment. Obviously, it all changes because when the fixtures drop, it'll and things happen. It may change. Kind of roughly looking at that, either that or kind of wild card in 30 maybe. Rich, what are your current sort of chip thoughts for your team and generally, I suppose?
Yeah, I think I'll obviously have to use triple captain. It's practically been neutralised, hasn't it? But as a result of the Liverpool double, so everyone will use that regardless of the outcome. So everyone will stay as they are, and that's I just remember last year I did it on Salah in a double game week and got 4 points. So hopefully the history won't. But you've got to be very brave. Particularly if you're protecting a rank or you're doing okay to go against a nearly 300% effective ownership or whatever. So I think I will definitely put it on Salah for 26. Up until that is confirmed, I had to game week 27 without using the free hit there because I'm starting to shed. I'm shedding 2 Chelsea players this week. I've got 2 goalkeepers, so Ramsdale can quite happily be benched in 27. I've got 1 other Arsenal player to sell, and I don't have Salah. So I was trying to think I could navigate 27 with not use the free hit there, save it to 30, and then perhaps wildcard in 31 when the fixtures turn a bit and we know a bit more about things like cup semi-finalists and that kind of stuff. So I'm a big advocate of holding the chips as late as possible and being powerful towards the end. I think with the Liverpool double, it probably makes the free hit 27 almost essential, or almost, or much more likely for me. And then 30 will perhaps be another free hit, followed by a wild card, followed by a bench boost, that kind of order.
Lovely.
So there's plenty of chips. It's all right, but
no, it is. And then the thing is, Rich, at your
rank, can't every other week.
At your rank as well, at 12k, you're kind of in a position where you don't need to, try something different, do you? To try and climb wherever else. You're kind of really well set, all your chips in hand. Even if Salah, when you play the triple on Salah in 26, it won't really matter to you. Like if you take your kind of football heart out of it, it won't really matter to you if he blanks or he scores 6 goals, will it? Because it's not gonna massively affect your rank either way, is it? Whereas for those who are chasing like myself, maybe a little bit, might look a bit differently. But Adam, what are your thoughts at the moment on chips?
It's a shield, basically.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay as flexible as possible. I think obviously triple captain, we think that's probably done now. I think that's quite an obvious one. I think free hit 27 is what I always had my eye on, purely because I was going to be bringing back Salah, probably having 3 Liverpool, and I also have Maddison as well who blanked. So I think free hit 27 is what I was planning. Wild card, what I would like to do is to try and get to game week 30 with a wild card and a free hit still intact, based on what I know now, because I think there will be, from 30 onwards, there'll be 2 fairly big double game weeks. I think we'll have a bit more certainty, and I think there will be opportunities to get some really, really big scores. I would like to bench boost the week after a wild card as well, in an ideal situation, or within a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be against wild carding in 31, because I think we obviously don't know the teams that have got the fixtures in 30, but I think Arsenal, for example, and Villa have got tougher fixtures in 31. So I could be tempted to wildcard in 31 if we've got the information, and then maybe bench boost in either 33 or 36. But I don't think I'll play a wild card this side of game week 30 at the moment. Sorry.
Ooh, that's okay. And can I just thank you, Adam, for coming dressed as, like you're attending the FA Cup final. For those listening on audio, Adam has just come in from work, so he's in his posh suit, his $4,000 Armani suit. It's not from Matalan, is it? Adam?
No, not from
Matalan. In terms of premiums, then, because this to me is quite interesting now over these next few game weeks. Probably the first time all season, actually, maybe aside from game week 1, where we have to really be choosy about the premiums, because there's players such as De Bruyne, for example, who comes, who's got Brentford and Norwich next. Obviously Bruno and Ronaldo will have the double in 25, and they've actually got really good fixtures. They're home to Watford as well in 27. You've got Kane and...
But that's irrelevant if you're free hitting, isn't it?
It is, you're right. You've got Kane and Son, who are likely to have a double in 26 against Brighton and Man City, may or may not. And then there's obviously Salah to squeeze in as well. So kind of what I've been trying to think about this afternoon is which ones I want to try and hop on and when, because it's the first time really all season, haven't it, where we've had to really kind of have budget in mind, because obviously we've had such a plethora of fantastic mid-priced and budget options. So my current thoughts at the moment, if we just look at who probably who the best premium is for 24, if Salah obviously is fit, if Klopp says he's going to be back and he's going to play, Salah is obviously the best premium option by a mile. But after that, probably Kevin De Bruyne.
Would you bring, if you did say that, which is unlikely, but if he did confirm he's going to start, he's back in my plans, would you bring him in 24?
It's a really good question, and I think I probably would, in all honesty, because I know I'm going to want him anyway, because I could go for someone else. I can go for De Bruyne for a couple of game weeks, for example. But what's the point in going for De Bruyne just to be different when I want Salah anyway, if that makes sense? But I do think De Bruyne's 2 games against Brentford and Norwich are pretty big, and I'm actually tempted to bring De Bruyne in this week to captain, in 24. But I do think I could be hokey-cokey around a little bit, because obviously I haven't got Bruno or Ronaldo yet. I don't want to bring in a Man United player yet, because I want to see another week of Man United before deciding on which one to go in for and to captain in 25. Obviously, Rich is on Ronaldo at the moment. Adam, you haven't got Ronaldo yet, have you? Either?
No, I got Ronaldo. And he's
Christ.
Yeah, he's going nowhere.
You're both ahead of the curve, see. So I leave it another week, and just see, because obviously Bruno has been, taking a fair share of points where Ronaldo hasn't been on the pitch. So I'll just get another week's or so information then. Rich, in terms of premiums, over these next couple of game weeks, are you tempted by De Bruyne at all? Just for example, over these next 2, are you going to save your cash and just kind of save it for Salah?
Well, I think I'm, as I said, I probably will get, if Bruno is still classed as a premium, I'm probably going to target him just because without taking a hit, whereas De Bruyne and Salah are not. Even this week, if I wanted to bring Salah back, and I've got 2 free transfers, unless I buy Brandon Williams as my defender, I can't get Salah in without a hit. And I don't want to start messing up my team with other weak players and stuff like that. So I realistically, the fact that the 24 gives me an extra week and an extra enabling transfer in 25 to get the cash to buy him in 26. So it's kind of, this fits quite nicely with my team and my budget. So I'm quite happy to just do that sort of do-si-do with Fernandes for a couple of weeks. and then move him 6. I mean, that'll definitely be happening. I'll take hits to do it if I need to, but I'm not going to bring him in for 24, take a hit, and then find that he's on the bench. I just would find that incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, sure.
So
with hits in mind, it's a really good point, because I haven't checked, but from memory, I think I've taken quite a lot of hits these last few weeks. Obviously, to kind of quickly navigate through as you get news of blanks and doubles and COVID postponements and bits and pieces like that. And I know Adam historically has been, I wouldn't say an advocate of hits, but you haven't been scared of hits at all, have you? And I'm looking forward now.
In the right situation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward now, and obviously because there's going to be doubles and things. I think I took -4 last week and the week before, but I'm not too concerned of keeping on taking them. I don't mean kind of -8s or -12s, but just to keep my team nice and fresh all the time. Do you think that's a reasonable approach, or should we a little bit more cautious?
I say for me, I think a mistake a lot of people make, and we all get excited by this, is they fall into double game week fever. Yeah. And make the extra transfer. I think we were all probably, I bought in Keane a couple of weeks ago. I'd never have bought in Keane if he didn't have a double game week. So that's an example of that. And I think when that's one of the things I'm considering, like next week, do I go straight to Salah or to Bruyne? The reality is that if I go to Bruyne, then go to Salah, I can buy my transfer plan. I know it's going to cost me an extra 4 points than if I just went there straight away, at least. So the way that I look at it, and if I'm not captaining him, say I go for Ronaldo, then that 4 points is effectively what Bruno would score in that second game, and I'd be happy with that. So I think we can go a little bit hit heavy, and also the other side of it is we ignore players with very good fixtures. So you've mentioned Man City there, got some great fixtures coming up in the next couple. So I don't know. I think I'm going to try and hold back a little bit on the double game weeks and just not ignore the players with good fixtures, because the reality as well is that a lot of players won't play 180. They might get an extra 40 or 50 minutes. And yeah, I think, is it worth the extra transfer? I think if you're captaining, I would say possibly. So with your plan with De Bruyne, if you really think he's a great captaincy option for this week, which I think he is, that could work. If it's for captaincy, that's where maybe the 4 point logic is a little bit flawed. Yeah. But if we're talking about just bringing in an extra Man United, Fred or someone, just so you got Fred, maybe an extreme example, and he's actually doing quite well at the moment. Yes. Maybe I've picked the wrong player there, but I think we can just get a little bit too excitable. So I plan to rein it back a little bit and just to not and to really consider players that have got good single game week fixtures as well.
No, that's interesting. And the example I'm thinking of this week. So I'm pretty set, I think, on doing Rudiger to Luca Dean this week. Just as my transfer.
Can't argue with that.
It would leave me a 4-4-2, but it would mean playing either King or Dennis, whichever of them I keep. But what I could do, for example, and this is maybe where players like yourselves, and especially Rich, who's very reserved in how he uses his transfers. I'm also then tempted, maybe just for example, to move on Damari Gray for Kevin De Bruyne for a -4 to try and optimize the game week, so to speak. But then that would also mean I would probably have to do a -4 then next week to be able to afford Ronaldo, for example. But so it's kind of almost booking in like a -8 just to get De Bruyne in my team and out of my team, which sounds ridiculous.
So effectively, even if you're captaining him, you're 8 points down. Exactly. Do you think just captaining Bowen and saving that transfer could be better? No. Yeah. We know De Bruyne is very, very capable, but I don't know. I think the way Bowen's playing at the moment, the way Jotter's playing, I think there's people that could match him in your current squad. So I think that's a really good example. I've just explained that, and but that's what you've just got to look at it as, is that okay, if I take this, I know it's going to cost me 8 points, but I'm taking the risk because I genuinely think he could get 15 points this week or whatever it is.
I would end up keeping De Bruyne for Norwich. It's probably worth adding in there. And then it also means that in 26 I've got my kind of route to salary easily. But it's probably taking a hit every week. But my battle with myself is whether I want to take a hit every week. But I'm also bringing in really good players. So just an example, I'll be bringing in Luca Dean this week. I'll have Kevin De Bruyne. Next week I'll do a -4, but I could move to, a Villa midfielder, for instance. So I'm not bringing in Dross just to accommodate. I'm not bringing in Brandon Williams as kind of Rich's example earlier. I'm bringing in players who I also think will score very well. At the same time.
Do you think there's a danger De Bruyne gets rested versus Norwich?
I haven't got it. I just think with all with all these players,
I do.
You do, Rich. Oh goodness me! I just think with those kind of decisions, and I tell you who says this really well actually is Tom from Who Got the Assist. He just says you just have to assume they play until they don't play, because I've been caught with this before in the past where you kind of get caught up with various conclusions based on fixtures and Pepper's he plays his strongest team, like he has done this year anyway, and I really don't want to get caught up in the game of trying to guess when rests come, because if we do that, it's very likely that Salah will get a rest in the double game week.
I for what it's worth, I think De Bruyne will start both matches because I think with certain players, and I think De Bruyne is one of these, I think he relies very much on momentum and keep maintaining rhythm. So I think De Bruyne will start both of them, and that's what you've got to weigh up. Is it worth it? And I suppose in reality, then he becomes Salah in game week 26, doesn't he?
Rich, in terms of hits, obviously, you're quite hit averse. I think it's probably fair to say, generally, and in terms of maybe taking a hit to try and get one of these premiums in for each week. What are your thoughts on that approach?
I don't like to take hits, but in double game weeks, I'm happy. I'm more relaxed about it because of the upside.
Yeah.
Premium, or whether it's a high potential mid like Rafinha, for instance, he's now going to come back onto radars. I'd have no problem taking a hit for Rafinha for a double game week, or
I think that's
Salah
fair
if I needed him, or that sort of thing. So it wouldn't have to be a premium player, or Son or Kane or someone like that. So in a double, or to hit is fine. I've just happened to have found a way. I was expecting to take a hit in 24, and I don't have to now because of the Man United double. So I'm just going to take those 4 points or not spend those 4 points and consider that they're an extra 4 points for me. So that's the way I look at it the next week, and it'll be fine for the double. So I'll take a hit when I have to, and I'm sure that the longer I go without playing a chip, the more likely it is I'll have to make a hit as these doubles can continue to pour in, because the more they start to come in over 25, 26, 27, 28, the less likely we all will be able to most of us have got a couple of United players already, so it doesn't feel that difficult to cope with 25 when you suddenly got 3 doubles in 26 and you haven't got any players from those teams. You're going to start to think, right, how am I going to get through this, because I don't want to use my wild card for 4 or 5 weeks. So now I might start taking, in that week to make sure I got 4 or 5 doublers. So that's coming, and I know it is. And so far, and it's been fairly reasonable and easy to stave that off. But it is coming because there's so many games to be rearranged.
There are. Just a little bit of news actually in the chat. So both John L. And someone else in the chat, I've lost it now, but they've said that that the AFCON have just announced that the fourth place playoff is now going to be on Saturday the 5th instead of Sunday the 6th. It means if Egypt lose to Cameroon in the semi-final. Salah would actually play on the Saturday, if at all, because obviously if they don't qualify for the final, I thoroughly expect Jurgen Klopp to be on the phone to the Egypt manager asking him to release him. The other interesting bit of news as well, which I saw earlier, which I forgot to mention earlier as well, is that Livramento was pictured training with Southampton,
which is good news.
Which is really good news because I think he's in my team, and it's not just good news because he's in my team. It's good news, obviously, because he's
in my team as well.
He's in Adam's team. Also, Southampton's fixture, I think, from game week 27 onwards, take a really, really nice turn. Actually, from 26 onwards, really nice turn. So he could be one. Just that set and forget as we have done for most of the season. Apologies, all there's just a few mentions in the chat, Rich. Your internet is making you sound kind of hop about a little bit. We will sort Rich's internet, so apologies, but hopefully you're getting the gist of what Rich is saying. Just finally on this section, gent, if that's okay, just wanted to ask so obviously if the double is confirmed for 26 for Liverpool, which is likely, if you were to pick now your 3 Liverpool players from scratch, who would they be? Because there's been plenty of debate against Jotter against an in-form Robertson. So Adam, can I ask you first?
I would go for Trent, Salah, and I think I would still stick with Jotter.
You would you?
Personally. I think, is there a chance Tsimikas could play one of the games, given that the final is on fairly close as well? Because I think he's done quite well when he's come in. And also as well, for team structure purposes, I don't know if I want 2 7 million defenders. There's quite a lot of 7 8 million midfielders. So I think that's where I would go.
Okay, and how about you, Rich?
I know there's some talk about moving Jotter on, but he hasn't done for his price, and I'd rather have 2 attacking options in that Liverpool team, especially with a double coming, than 2 defensive options. I mean, but if you're wild carding, Robertson would give you a differential and something to move on to maybe Reece James in a few weeks' time. So it's not a bad move if you're wild carding, perhaps. But I think I would keep Jotter over Robertson.
Okay. I think I do the same. We've had some in the chat. AB says Trent, Salah, and Robertson, and Mr. A says Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk. So obviously, Liverpool have signed Diaz as well, haven't they? FPL Gals just said that Diaz is going to mess up the front 3 Klopp roulette. It'd be interesting, but Jotter for me is, I think he's earned that place in the Liverpool 11 this season from merit. I don't think he's just in there as how Man City used to just kind of rotate, and you were never sure whether Jotter or Firmino were going to start. I think Jotter's in the front 3 on merit this season. I think he's been
Agreed. I think if anything, it might impact a bit later in the season. I'm not sure it will straight away.
Rich, you've been likened to Gary Anderson from the Darts. I don't know if you've been likened to him before, but Jamie Laming.
I have heard, I've heard it before, yes.
I'm sure you have.
Dear.
And John L. just finally on that says, Jota hasn't scored since game week 18. Just saying. Well, John, that means he is due. Let's move on to our next section, and what we've got here is the hub predicted points from game week 24 through to game week 29, which is a kind of period we're looking at. This doesn't take into account any kind of Liverpool double game it yet, because it hasn't been confirmed. It's really important to stress this. Obviously, if you want to look at these predictions yourself and toggle around between various game weeks, fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. The link is in the description below. But what this shows is that Kevin De Bruyne, who we mentioned earlier, is top for predicted points for the next 6 game weeks. With 44 points. Ronaldo is second on 42, ahead of Bruno who is third in 39. Now, interestingly, Salah is fourth in this with 37 points. This is without the extra game against Leeds as well. So if that other game was in there, he would probably be topped by an absolute mile. Cancelo is in there. Sterling is in there. Foden is in there. Antonio is in there. Harry Kane, Sadio Mane, Rashford, Rafinha, Calvert-Lewin, and then Jotter is above Alexander-Arnold, and Robertson isn't in there. So I think from the predictor, I would probably say, even though that extra game for Liverpool isn't in there, it looks like the hub predictor predicts Jotter to outscore Robertson, even if the extra double is in there. Summers says, the flying Scotsman, Mr. A, 180. There you are, Rich. You're getting a lot of the dial stuff in there. And Summers says that Gary Anderson can only dream of Rich's FPL history.
That's a
class. So with this now, obviously, we've talked about premiums, we've talked about kind of navigating through, and this is probably where the majority of our transfers are going to be used, aren't they? Over the next kind of 3 or 4 game weeks. But are there any other teams or players, and any of the new players that have come into the Premier League that interest you at all, Jens? I'll just start off, as I say, with Villa's next 3 fixtures in particular are absolutely spanking. They're playing well, they're on form, so I'm really excited about Luca Dean. So I'll kick off with that. Rich, if I can come to you first, what other kind of players are you interested in? Whether budget, premium, mid-price, or whatever else over the coming weeks?
Well, I'm probably going to get you Luca Dean in this week, so sorry to
there you go.
echo what you've said, but I think that's a logical pick. It's a long-term pick. It's not reacting to a double based on everything we've said. I wanted to bring him in last week, and I think he's a great pick. Matt Targett went to Newcastle. That's the cover pick gone from Villa, so it's really kind of nailed him on now, and there probably wasn't much doubt that he was going to start most matches anyway, but I think now that's cemented it for me. I think most of the transfers, in the late in the window, that the move are a wait and see. There's a few potential guys that are well priced, like Van der Beek and Dele Alli and people like that who've gone to Everton. They're in the sort of 6 million type bracket but you've got to wait and see if they show some form and see if Everton improve. And similarly, some of the Newcastle buys that the team's got to start playing better, to be honest, before I'll start taking an interest. Diaz is obviously a potential future star, but again, he's not kicked a ball in the Premier League, and he's got to get rid of. He's got to unseat Jotter or Firmino or Mane before he should be considered from an FPL perspective. So there's nothing that leaps out of me from the transfer market that I immediately want to buy. I don't know what you think, Adam. Had you picked out anybody?
No, I think a lot of the picks that I would go to are fairly straightforward. I think Villa have got a nice run of fixtures, which they haven't had. We really haven't. I think we had an okay run before Dean Smith was sacked, but they were all teams in and around us, whereas I think we've got a great run at the moment. Gerrard has actually had time to work with the team. They've got a couple of friendlies arranged over this time as well to keep the sharpness. So I think Villa are a good bet to invest in. Luca Dean is a great option on set pieces. He's looked good in his first 2 matches. So and he's been getting forward. So I think he's a good option to go for. I think I'm not that sold on Watkins or Ings at the moment. I don't think it's a time for go for either one of those. Ings obviously come on for Watkins with about 13, 14 minutes to go against Everton. I think based on what's happening at the moment, that whilst Watkins might start, Ings will get minutes. So I'm a bit less enthused about Watkins at the moment. But I think the other place to go for Villa, in my opinion, is one of 2 options, and that's Coutinho or Buendia. Buendia, I think, is Villa's main man at the moment. I can't say how good he is, and he'll be on a high with he got his first cap for Argentina last night as well. So obviously both of these players are coming back from internationals. But if you saw Coutinho's goal last night, well, it wasn't, but it was a proper throwback to his Liverpool days. I can't wait to see that at Villa Park next week against Leeds. So yeah, I think their Villa have got some good options, and I expect them to kick on because Gerrard's had some more time with them now. So they've been impressive so far, but I think we'll see even more from Villa in these next few weeks. Looking at other options, I think if you don't own Rafinha, whilst the fixtures aren't great, and I know he got a little bit of a knock, if you look at the way he took his performance versus West Ham was brilliant. And if you look at the way that he took his goal for Brazil last night, again, equally as impressive. He's going to want to be impressing teams for the second half of the season, given that he'll probably want to move in the summer. So, I've been very, very impressed with him. Outside that, I don't think there are loads of standout options for me. There's you can look at the double game weeks. United coming up, but United haven't been that good. You might want, is it Alanga who's 4.8? He could be an option and might release funds elsewhere. I think Brighton have got some okay options, but don't play this week. So for me, there aren't many options that are really, really standing out at the moment.
No, it's hard, and normally we've got lots of options. We're kind of working out, but I think the way the kind of next few fixtures fall, a lot of transfers are going to be booked in almost, aren't they? Everyone who's sold Salah, which the majority of us need to get Salah back. At some point, with United having the double in 25, a lot of people are going to want to kind of book in a transfer there as well. Aston Villa's, the kind of their run of fixtures and current form makes them kind of bankers to get in as well. It's not really much kind of outside of that we can do. I think the interesting differential over the next few weeks, well, especially this week, is going to be the captaincy, because we'll touch on that in a bit, but it is wide open.
I've got a question actually, because I'm looking at a defensive transfer this week, given I've got Rudiger and Keane. Potentially neither will play. So I like Luca Dean as an option. I don't like owning Villa defenders from an emotional FPL point of view, but I think I can live with that, given how attacking he is. What other defenders? Because the few other defenders on my radar, I've got Dalot at United. Is Wan-Bissaka, and please mention this in the chat, is Wan-Bissaka a rotation risk there? Because I think he's only 4 point something million, isn't he? 4.4, 4.5. You could look at Brighton, but then they don't play this week, so that's an issue. And the other one's Laporte. I really like Laporte, and if you look at his scores over the last 7 or 8 game weeks, it's phenomenal consistency. And I think the big thing the reason I really like Laporte, he's so dangerous from set pieces.
Oh, he is.
I think
he's in there, isn't he?
He's by far the most dangerous player for City from set. He's one of these players, and I don't think there are many centre halves like this that have just got that instinct of where the ball's going to go. So yeah, I do like Laporte. My concern though is I need my defenders really to. I could see him missing a game or two, and him playing Ake as left-sided centre back, particularly maybe for the Norwich game when it's so. Maybe I'm just better off going for Luca Dean.
Stones and Ake against Norwich, couldn't he? And so Diaz game.
But again, we're back to the kind of realms of
second guessing,
second guessing and kind of what ifs. And then when Laporte and Diaz start, we'll say, well, of course they're going to start. They're their centre backs, and we're stuck with Diego Dalot, who plays for a team who concede every single game, and who's a rotation risk. I think that's.
Well, let me ask you a different question, because I think we're all in this position, considering we've all said we would bring Luca Dean in. Who do you think will score more points between now and game week 30?
Out of Digne and Laporte.
Laporte and Dean, yeah.
Who do you think, Rich? I'm going to try and work it out.
I'd be Laporte, because More clean sheets, Laporte.
Yeah, I think it probably will be. I do think he'll get a rest because obviously Man City have got a similar schedule to Liverpool. It's just you can't predict when. But I do think Luca Dean in these next 3 games especially, I think I can see an attack and return or two, which obviously just helps him kind of mop up the baps as well, and doesn't it? So I think he'd be very, very tight, and I think they're both brilliant options, and I think that those kinds of moves are probably being kind of overlooked in terms of us trying to squeeze in Trossard, for example.
Yeah, I agree. the other positive for Luca Dean is he definitely plays in 30.
Yeah,
which I don't ever like basing decisions on, but I think when it's close, and obviously Luca Dean's cheaper as well, so it frees up funds. So I probably think Laporte, but I don't know. It seems a little bit more of a gamble.
I think in the shorter, I think in the first 3 or so, I think Luca Dean, and I don't think there's any harm in getting in Luca Dean, maybe waiting a week or two, on Laporte, and then, you may want to move on someone else, if, a defensive player gets injured, or Trent obviously isn't playing in 27, for example, even though you're wanting back. But you could do that. I think in the short term, Luca Dean, but I think it's very, very close over the next kind of 6 weeks, personally, there. I agree on Rafinha, and we, we've already mentioned about Liverpool and Leeds. We're obviously all jumping on Liverpool, but Leeds will double in that week as well. And Liverpool, it's funny because they've kept a lot of clean sheets recently, but I think Alisson has kept them in it a lot, haven't he? In terms of that, he's made some absolutely incredible saves. I mean, Rafinha's the kind of player who can do anything against anyone, so I do think he's a really good option. The one I'm maybe not interested in per se. I'm maybe a little bit more interested now than I was before, but obviously with the situation with Greenwood, does that make potentially Rashford more of an option, or do you think you'll still kind of switch with Cavani up front, or any thoughts on that?
Go on, you go first, Rich.
Yeah, possibly Sancho, Rashford, Cavani going to see more minutes as a consequence of the situation. Doesn't make them attractive enough for me to consider highly priced. I'd rather have value at sort of 6-7 million, where there's lots of options, than look at the 9 million, 9.5 million guys. It's just too expensive. And as you say, United are a short-term thing. Once their doubles are out of the way, you're going to see a huge exodus from United. So you're only really talking about
I
player here
agree.
Before they're going to be out of here. Yeah.
Here you go, Adam. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Rashford could do okay. He could be an option, but he's an awkward price point. I think there are so many options cheaper than him that are probably going to offer more. Your Bowens, your Fodens, and there's a host of other midfielders. What is he? 9.5 million, 9.4 is he? Yeah,
I think he may be an
9.4 million.
If we do end up playing a free hit, for example, in 27 against Watford, doing kind of
possibly
up on the attack maybe, or something, just as a bit different. But yeah, the only other thing
I think that I agree with that potentially in the free hit, but no, it would not for me.
Everton's next 3 fixtures are quite, are pretty good. Newcastle, Leeds, and Southampton. And I think if I held Calvert-Lewin, obviously, with Van der Beek going there and Ali there now, I think I'd be tempted to hold on to him. But I know everyone holding him is going absolutely not. He's gone from my team. But with the new manager and the new signings, could potentially see a bit of a bounce. He may just say just go and have some fun, express yourselves, enjoy yourselves, and do what you can do. I'd be tempted to hold him, I think, now. Whereas obviously I don't hold him. It's easy for me to say, but I think we'll see a different Everton. But obviously not sure whether that's a good Everton or a kind of worse Everton in the short term. But it's just not. There's not masses of options at the moment, is there? Because everything's so kind of staged over these next few game weeks. Rich, you put together a wildcard draft for us this week. So for those who are wildcard this week, there are lots of wildcards active, actually. You put together a draft. Do you just want to run through the draft, and give us some thoughts on why you've picked these sorts of players?
Yeah. Okay, so as Fergie said at the beginning, I'm not wildcarding myself, and I'm not actually recommending to do it unless it works for your particular team. But I am aware that there are a lot of people wildcarding. If you're very unhappy with your team, if you've got 2 to 3 Watford players, injuries, no United players, coming up, then there's lots of holes in a lot of squads. So I can understand why people would want to wildcard and get moving, particularly if your ranking is not where you want it to be. So have you got it on the screen,
yes,
Fergie?
Yeah, so, mate, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let me just talk through it. So the wild is really with an eye on not on saving a transfer in game week 25. Okay, first of all, so it's getting ready for the double next week, and it's also set up to possibly not have to free hit in game week 27. So it was put together earlier today with double, and therefore it doesn't have any Arsenal, Chelsea or Leicester assets in there because they blank in 27, and it has a reduced exposure to Liverpool with just Trent holding his position in the team. So you may want to consider when, with the Liverpool double coming, whether it's got enough. I think it still holds reasonably true. So it's De Gea in goal, mainly for the double. Foster there as a cheap backup who is still likely to play. A main back three of Luca Dean, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and João Cancelo. So Cancelo and Alexander-Arnold keep their places in most teams. Dean's a solid long-term pick. And then I've got 2 enabling defenders in there. Ben Davies is someone we haven't mentioned so far tonight. I don't think Tottenham bought another central defender in the transfer window, so I think he's pretty nailed. He's $4.5 million. Tottenham have a couple of doubles coming up, and he plays most games. So he comes in as the 4th defender. Joel Veltman in from Brighton as a 4.2 million enabler in there. If you've got the 2.2, you could go for Webster instead, possibly slightly more nailed than Veltman. But I mean, really, he's the fifth defender there. He's got a double next week and possibly a double if Brighton play Tottenham in game week 26. Moving to the midfield, comes in for the double for 25. I've put Son back in. He's nearing fitness. We should get an update in the FA Cup. He's affordable, and so assuming he's green light to go by Monday night, he comes in as the second mid. And then I've got a trio of mid-priced assets. I've got 26, most likely. Bowen keeps his place purely just due to form and value for West Ham. And then I've got Jacob Ramsey of Aston Villa as a best 4.6 million enabler as the 5th mid. And then moving up front, I've gone for Bruyne of Southampton, enabler with great fixtures from game week 27. Ronaldo keeps his place for the double game week. And then I've gone for Neil Maupay as a temporary second striker with possibly a double-double.
A question for you, Rich, on that with that team. Is that a team that you could bench boost the following week, do you think? I haven't looked at the fixtures, but
when would I bench boost in 25?
Yeah, would you bench boost in 25 with that team?
I hadn't considered it. In terms of setting it up for a bench boost, yes, I suppose if I swapped Foster for Sanchez, and there's money there.
Spurs have got Wolves at home, so you got
do that and left over really for Salah. Yeah.
So just looking at the fixtures, you'd have Foster would be at home to Brighton, so that would be fine. You would have Spurs have got Wolves at home, so your Spurs guys have got an okay fixture. Who else have you got in there? There's potential. Ramsey's got a good fixture. So, bro, I mean, it's not the best, but it's possibly bench boostable, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a good.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't set it up at all with a view to bench boosting. I think you could probably get a few. We could probably get an extra Brighton doubler with Sanchez in there as your second goalkeeper, but that would possibly leave me a bit short for Salah money, because I kept just over $1 million back to do Bruno to Salah in 26, which is obviously something you still got to consider. So that's why I didn't go hell for leather on the bench boost. But yeah, what I thought was that there's in there for you to carry them through, and then potentially bench boosting later on in the 30s when that comes around. You've still got a playing bench, but you've only spent 4.6 on Ramsey, 4.2 on Veltman, Foster's 4.1. So you haven't really over budgeted carry for 14, 15 weeks here, because you've not got another wild card after this. So that was my thinking. But I did only give it an hour's thought.
It's good.
Yeah.
After an hour's thought. The feedback, Mom Bassett Daily says not enough City and Liverpool in this this wildcard draft. Obviously, you've focused primarily obviously on trying to maximise 25, and obviously getting Salah back as well is in there as well, which is fair enough.
Absolutely. I just I did put some slides together. We haven't got them in the deck because of some formatting issues, but one of the bullets says there's low man to rotation risk in the Champions League. So what you're going to see as we go through February and March is a lot of rotation. I believe Pep will prioritise the Champions League. He's already won the league, and he's going to make sure that he can get his best team out for the last 16 and the quarterfinals. The Champions, a high percentage of Man City players, that rotation is not going to go away. Kevin De Bruyne is going to get rested, in my view. So is Diaz, so is Cancelo. They're going to get rests ahead of big games because he can afford to play the very good backup players that he's got. So Liverpool less rotation, but I can a rest for Salah, particularly next week. And it's Liverpool and City, I think, that have their Champions League games earlier than United and Chelsea. So that's kind of why with the wild card I reduce the coverage of those assets. But fair point. I mean, you may do better in the long term with a team that still retains a lot of Liverpool.
Yeah, finding the balance is obviously it's always difficult, but thank you so much, Rich, for putting together that draft. It's just it's to provoke kind of thoughts, I suppose, but it also says to me, because I was up in an hour in just when we when we were chatting on the last pod, I said I was potentially thinking about wild carding in 24 or 25. But I think like what this says to me personally, and probably most people have got the template, I suppose, is that there's probably no real massive need to wildcard in 24, is there? Because I don't know about you guys, but I look at that wildcard team. I look at the way my team is set up for 24, and I think I would I'd much rather my team in 24 going into 25. Obviously, maybe different, and a lot of things happen in a game week, as we know, which kind of change things. But thanks for that, Rich. Adam, is there anyone in there you kind of add or surprised at or take away? Or
not really, no. I think it's a good decent wildcard team, but I think a few people in this chat have said that based on the what you can do with the wildcard, they'll probably keep it for later on.
Yeah, I think that makes absolute sense.
I think that's the right call.
Okay, let's move on then to the best captaincy options for Gameweek 24, which is a real tough one, actually. Put out a poll earlier on Fantasy Football Hub, but I found it really hard actually just to narrow it down to 4 options. Put Salah in there, put Bowen in there, put Cancelo in there, but obviously you could have put any numbers in it, and I put Trent or Jotter in there. I set the poll out before I actually ran the numbers through on the Hub Predictor. The Hub Predictor put De Bruyne out top followed by Antonio. So I didn't put either of those in the poll. But in terms of the poll, Bowen came out top. Interestingly, actually, 36%, very much the kind of man at the moment, didn't he? Salah came out second at 28%, Cancelo third, 25%, and then Trent or Jotter, quite surprisingly, I think, only had 10% of the vote. There were lots of comments for where is KDB, which is fair enough, obviously, but it just goes to show how wide open this week is, and it's also interesting because, like, normally with captaincy on a weekly basis, we've got a fair idea of whether the best player in the game is going to be available or not, haven't we? Now we really don't know with Salah. He could or he couldn't be. We may know maybe later. Stefan in the chat is also saying Ronaldo. We obviously haven't even mentioned Ronaldo, and Mikel has also said Kane. We haven't put Kane in there as well, who has a nice home game against Southampton as well. So with all this in mind, Adam, if I can come to you first, what are your thoughts on the best captain for game week 24?
I think if you own De Bruyne, or even I'd be tempted if you own De Bruyne or Foden, that's where I'd go. I think City versus Brentford, fancy them to win convincingly. So I would back City. I'm not sure I'd do with Bernardo. I'm not, but I would for Foden or De Bruyne. Could make an argument for Cancelo as well. And I think the other fixture, the only thing that puts me off West Ham a little bit is Hodgson coming in. So I think we get to see Watford the weekend. Unfortunately for us King owners, I think Hodgson will be all after the clean sheet, and I think Burnley will be after the clean sheet. So I think that's got 0-0 written all over it personally. And I think that's I think Hodgson will go and try and keep it tight at West Ham as well. So, yeah, I think City for me have got they've got by far the standout fixture in my opinion. So that's where I'd go at the moment. Based on the players that I own, I am 50-50 between Cancelo and Bowen. I wanted to ask you, Ferg, have you got any ways to deal with 50-50 decisions that could help me make a good decision? Apparently you're the expert in this field.
So I looked back at that video and I didn't realise how smug I sound as well. I was like, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a psychological experiment. You should all do this. La la la. And no, I haven't. Don't do what I do. Don't do what I do, for God's sake.
I loved it. And that fake coin, my favourite, is absolutely brilliant.
It hurt my feelings. So yeah. So you're pretty torn at the moment between Cancelo and Bowen, and it's interesting because Jotter and Trent are options as well, I think. But I think at the moment I would lean towards Bowen because I think he's playing like a 12. But he's the form player in the league at the moment, and he just looks like he's going to score every week. So. But the caveat to that is how Hodgson sets up, particularly, and we get to obviously see we get to see West Ham and Watford the weekend, don't we? So there's a whole host of FA Cup matches, but before that, but if I had De Bruyne and probably Foden, I would almost certainly captain them. Mm-hmm. De Bruyne for a hit or not? Bearing in mind he plays Norwich in 25 as well.
I've weighed that up. What's really annoying in my main mini league, two people who I'm competing with the title for both own De Bruyne. Oof. So that puts me off going for it, to be honest, because it'll put me a week behind them because they already have him. So I might try and catch something, do something a little bit different. I don't know if I'd do it for a hit or not.
No, because
I think the thing that plays in my mind is that you could do it and then he could get rested versus Norwich. My plan at the moment, and we'll talk about my tip. I think saving a transfer could be the way to go personally, but
you keep doing that, don't you? At the moment, keep
saving transfers. I've only done it once. I mean, so I've saved. First time I've saved in a while. I obviously accidentally saved on Boxing Day when my team didn't load, but I don't really think you can class that as saving a transfer.
Yeah.
Very bittersweet. Yeah, but what do you guys think on the captain?
Go ahead, Rich. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm quite keen on Bowen. I think Watford are, definitely the worst opposition of the teams we're considering captaining against. See how they go against Burnley. If they still look really bad, then I'll probably definitely captain Bowen against them. The other player that we haven't mentioned yet is Jotter. I like Jotter for the Leicester game, mainly because the chances of Mane and Salah both are pretty small. So I think he'll definitely start the game because he's had a rest and the other two haven't. So if you've got the central striker for Liverpool in a game against Leicester, whose defence is not great, that's got to be another option. So Jotter is a good shout. I think this week a big spread of captaincy. You're going to see 4 or 5 different captains, no outstanding EO. And I think I've heard in another pod, which I agree with, someone saying, just pick one and go with it that you fancy, and it probably won't hurt you that much if it doesn't come off. It's not going to be like everyone's gone with Salah and I'm on someone else. It's going to be one where you can throw the dice this week and go for someone you fancy, and it won't hurt your ranking too much if it doesn't work. So just pick someone with a good fixture and stick it on him.
Oh, I agree, and there was a lot of, from game week 10 all the way through to game week, whatever it was, 22, everyone's saying, I want to be, Salah ruining the game. Well, I think here's opportunity because there will be no outstanding captain this week because there literally is like 5 or 6 very, very viable options. And depending on how teams are set up as well, like I looked at earlier at De Bruyne's ownership, he's 14.8% owned. I'm assuming that's probably a lot lower in the top kind of 100k or two as well. So he's probably the outstanding option. As Adam said, I presume you think the same, Rich, that if you were to hand pick someone on a free hit, De Bruyne would be right up there. But he's not very well owned. Couple of really good points in the chat. John L says KDB might be rested, so yes, if he plays, he could ban, but take a -4 to get a player who may be rested together with other good options is a big risk. And a couple of other things in there as well. Saying that not for a hit, which I can understand, and I think that's probably the sensible move. I think for me, I think if I do take a hit to bring in De Bruyne, I think I'll captain him. And like I say, I'm not just doing it for the 1 week. They do have Norwich the next week, which could be, a really good fixture also. I also like the fact that for such a fantastic player with 2 brilliant fixtures, that he's so low owned as well. And I'm not just picking him because he's low owned. I truly think, and the predicted points kind of backs up that he probably is the best option both in the short term and in the long term as well. So with all those factors in mind, I am tempted to take a hit for him. I'm in a slightly different position to you guys. I am kind of chasing where I want to be a little bit. So I am tempted. If I don't go for De Bruyne, I will very likely go for.
So for 2.
Sorry, yeah, you go, Rich. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, are you tempted to therefore ignore a Man United player in 25 as well, and your captain De Bruyne 2 weeks running if you get him?
No, I definitely. I'm very likely bring in Ronaldo because, as we've seen, Bruno only gets his points when Ronaldo is not in the pitch. So obviously we get to see United play against is it Burnley in 24. I thoroughly expect Ronaldo to get kind of 85 or 90 minutes. And if that's the case, I'll very likely bring in Ronaldo the following week, probably for a hit, but to play alongside De Bruyne. Probably leave Salah alone, and then I could move De Bruyne onto Salah then potentially in 26 maybe, or fiddle around and get Ronaldo. Though I probably want to hold Ronaldo for 27 is my very loose plan. I could even want to move both of them, right? Because if I use the free hit in 27, I could move out Ronaldo and De Bruyne for Salah and Son if Spurs double in 26 as well. So I'm not trying. And again, I always get very stuck on whether I'm trying to be a bit too clever or not on this. But I just think it's not like I'm going for someone unproven in De Bruyne. He's one of the best players in the Premier League. I think he's probably still on pens if Mahrez isn't on the pitch. Gundogan hasn't been playing, has he? So yeah, but if I don't go for De Bruyne, I will very likely captain Cancelo, I think, against Brentford. I think I just prefer him to Bowen because I think there's probably a better chance of Cancelo keeping a clean sheet than there is Bowen scoring, I would guess, and that excludes any attacking returns for Cancelo as well. However, obviously, if Salah doesn't play in that third place playoff and on Saturday and flies home early, it may all be different again. FPL Gaza, a hit and a captain punt on KDB to play Pep Roulette. I detect the sound of violins. You could well be right. We could be having the violins out next week. But yeah, thank you, gents. And obviously, as we've all just said, it's really, really tough. But De Bruyne or Bowen seems to be the common consensus with a backup of Cancelo. We now have Adam's team on screen for Game Week 24. Adam, just want to quickly run through your team and your plans for the game week.
Yeah, in goal, David De Gea, who will stay in goal. I've got Trent, Michael Keane. Yeah, I'm not too excited about that one either. And Cancelo at the back. Then I've got Jotter, Bowen, who's got the armband, Maddison, Rafinha. And then I've got Antonio, King, and Ronaldo. My plans, I've got 2 free transfers.
Show off.
What I'm thinking at the moment is the one position that I want to sort out is my centre back. So I'm thinking of doing Rudiger to Luca Dean. Possibly could do Laporte, but I think I want that security of starts given that where my squad's at the moment. And he's got a good run of fixtures, plays in 30, so there's not a lot to dislike about Luca Dean. I could potentially do Mason Mount and Antonio out for a -4. Why I might do it is Antonio. I don't know. Is Antonio still in Jamaica? Is he?
Yes. He.
So that's a worry for me.
Game. They do play Kidderminster in the FA Cup on either Saturday or Sunday, so you'll get an indication then, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a worry that he's gone to those fixtures and not stayed at home. So at the moment, I'm leaning towards just doing the one transfer. I think it'll either be 1 or 3, if that makes sense. I don't think I'll do 2 transfers because I would need to get rid of I would need to use the Antonio money to be able to get to De Bruyne, Bruno, Salah, whoever it was, or that midfielder. So if Antonio's fine, he's got a very good fixture in Watford. So maybe taking a hit this week isn't a great idea and just keeping Antonio. And then I would do the move to either Bruno or Salah next week with the 2 free transfers. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I could take a hit and bring in De Bruyne, but I think I'm going to base a lot of this on the FA Cup. And, there might be other injuries. We'll obviously, like you said, know if Antonio's back and all of these things. So, that's what I'm thinking. It'd be one of those 2 options. If I bring De Bruyne in, I would 100% captain him.
Far too sensible for me, Adam. But no, it's hard to argue with your logic. And
it's either or. I'm in the moment. I'm leaning towards saving. But what would you, out of the 2 options, would you go for the minus? Based on what you know at the moment, would you go for the -4, which is 3 transfers? Which let's for argument's sake, it's Luca Dean, Brower, and KDB in, or would you just save it for next week because you could go straight to Salah instead, or Bruno?
I would be taking out Antonio. That's an absolute dead cert.
I would only do that if I had concerns with his, because obviously he's got another match to play, and if there were concerns over his fitness, but I don't think there will be.
So, no, I think you said, I think that the fact that you and Rich have both got Ronaldo already in play, puts you at a bit of an advantage, in terms of you don't have to really think about that transfer for next week. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the zone at the moment. I always get it at this kind of the season where try and play really tight and really tight and really tight. But I think with all these doubles and all these potential points available, I think I'm more on the fence at the moment. Completely different to you two, seasoned gentlemen. But I'm on the thing of go for it a little bit and take the points that are in front of you at the moment. I don't know whether it's whether these postponements have just made me think that, or whether I'm just bored without 2.5 weeks of football or wherever it is. But I'm very tempted to try and just attack the game week in front of me a little bit at the moment. Whereas obviously the better way to play is to think medium to long term. So.
It's very difficult for me to get that 12 million plus midfielder without losing Antonio, which probably suggests this isn't the week to do it.
I don't think it is.
What do you reckon, Rich?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take the hit. No.
Yeah. So I think I mean
you could have guessed that.
Yeah, no, but it's good to have a balance. I've got like the angel and devil on my shoulders, haven't I? That's that's what it's turned into now.
Even the devil wouldn't take Antonio out ahead of a home game against Watford.
What I might do is, if I'm undecided on the day, there's only one way to decide it, and we need the fake coin, don't we? So
we need the coin.
We need the coin.
Yeah. Stefan L says coin flip to decide how many transfers to make and all that. Absolutely superb. Good stuff, Adam, and a good team there. Rich, you've now got your team on screen. Do you mind just quickly running through and giving us your thoughts for the week?
Yes. Okay, so I've got De Gea in goal, Trent and Cancelo in defence, Marcus Alonso on this week with great pleasure for Luca Dean. We've talked about him a lot earlier. I'm really happy with that transfer. That gives me 4.2 million in the bank, and that would allow me to move Mason Mount out for and that is, I'm 95% sure that's what I'm going to do. So that's a move in anticipation.
We missed the transfer in then, made you.
We just heard the after bit. You're going to move Mason Mount too, and then you carried on talking.
Mason Mount out for Bruno Fernandes.
Oh, okay, you're doing that this week.
And hope you got it that time. Yes. So yeah, Bruno coming in a week in advance of the double.
Wow.
And I will then play, I think it's Bowen, Bernardo, and Jotter. And I'll probably go, if we give Smith Rowe the chance to play against Wolves, and then up front would go Antonio and Ronaldo, and bench Josh King. So that's my plan. It gives me 3 United players before game week 25, which then gives me the option to either save the transfer in 25 or move to get the extra funds I now need to upgrade Bruno to Salah in 26. So I might sell Bernardo for Rafinha, for instance, and get the money that way, or sell Antonio for Bruyne or Mopé or something like that. So I've got to make an enabling move in 25 or 26 to make sure Salah can come in. But I don't mind making an extra transfer. I could get another Brighton player double. That makes sense.
Nice plan. And interestingly, because I've been quite fixated on De Bruyne, but you're going to Bruno, straight to Bruno, instead of not even thinking of De Bruyne, obviously with double in mind next week, which seems incredibly sensible, Rich, I must say. Move on to my team. So I've got kind of a similar dilemma. I'll have either Ramsdale or De Gea in goals. I'll probably stick with De Gea in goals, I would guess. Trent, I've currently got the captain on Cancelo. I've got Dawson, home to Watford, actually, which I think would be, fine to start him, actually. I've then got Damari Gray, who will likely be leaving my team. I've got Bowen, Bernardo, and Jotter. And at the moment, I've just got Dennis, Antonio, and King. So my very loose thoughts. And I do have Trossard and Rudiger on the bench. So I'm thinking of going Rudiger to Luca Dean, which would make my team like a 4-4-2, and then for a hit, I was tempted to do Gray to De Bruyne, because I do actually quite fancy the thought of having triple Man City against Brentford and Norwich, which I think will be quite a differential. Actually, I don't see many having. You've only got one avenue, Adam, and Rich, you would have two, just an example. Whereas I do think triple City against those two teams could be very beneficial. But Rich has just put a fly in my ointment by suggesting Bruno, because that makes absolute sense. I'm not sure. I'd probably bench either Dennis or King. I'll probably do a coin flip for who to bench there. And then the plan would be then, obviously, for 25 would be to bring in Ronaldo. I'd probably take another hit to be able to afford to bring in Ronaldo. I would have Trossard as well, which would be okay, actually. And then, bring in Salah 26. Very, very loose plan. I don't mind taking a hit every week to bring in, the best captain or or the key doubler, but also constantly improving my team, for example, as well. So that's my very loose plan. Adam, what would you do in my position?
Wild card.
You can't just say wild card every week. You swine.
Sorry. Free hit then. What would I do? I don't like the look of the two Watford forwards.
No, definitely.
If we can get past that, I think you're okay. So you got Trossard for the following week. What would I do? How many transfer? You got one free transfer.
Yeah.
And how much have you got in the bank?
9.7 million. So I can move to anyone.
Oh,
wow.
my God.
That's
get rid of the Watford boys if you got that much money.
I think rather than doing a defensive transfer with Livramento back, I would do Gray and Gray and Dennis possibly. To
who?
So I'd have to. So if you did Gray to De Bruyne, what does that leave you with?
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I am 1974 in the chat just put wildcard that mess. And AB has also put 100% wildcard. And 3 Patevra has put wildcard all day long. Flipping it, it's not that bad. If I did great if I did great to De Bruyne, I'd have about 3 million left-ish.
So what you could do, could you do Gray to Foden and Dennis to Ronaldo?
I probably could do that, maybe, yeah. I think I could do that.
Because that gives you United coverage, City coverage for next week, for the next couple of weeks. But it also, so you're still on treble City, but it gives you Ronaldo in place, doesn't it?
It does. That's not a bad shout.
I don't like the double Watford either, personally.
Stefan L says, "Close your account, Fergie." That's even that's even worse than wildcard. No, that
I was going to say I thought your team had been hacked, but I thought that was a bit too far.
I like Luca Dean. I do like Luca Dean.
I like Luca
Have
Dean.
Have they got Leeds this week? It is Leeds mind, isn't it?
Yeah,
Leeds are quite decent. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not scared of make it. I'm not scared.
You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that Luca Dean move.
Oh, agreed.
But I want Luca Dean above all of them, really, because I think he's such a good option.
I think West Ham will keep a clean sheet versus Watford because I think Hodgson sets them up. So I think you set up quite nicely at the back. From looking at your midfield, actually looks quite good this week. If you're looking at it, so Gray away at Newcastle. I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure on Newcastle. I think they've improved. I think they'll be stronger, Newcastle.
Yeah, but it's Lampard's first game. I think your problem area is your forward line, and so
I want to attack. I want to attack these game weeks because I think there's a lot of low-owned players we've got some fantastic fixtures, and try. I'm not even thinking. I said it earlier. I'm not going to take a -8 or a -12. I could even take a -8 and get Luca Dean, get Foden, and get Ronaldo, just as an example. Maybe I'm not scared to attack them because of the doubles, because get myself in a really good spot ahead of 25 or 26 or whatever else. Adam is shaking his head, and Rich is looking like
I'm not shaking my head. I think you should. Do you know what? Why stop there? I think -16. Let's go for it. -16. Go for it. Save your wild card.
David Tilstone says wild card and free hit, and Stefan L says time for a coin flip. I don't know if I'm just bored. I think that's the problem with it. Is you two guys are much more sensible and experienced than I am, whereas I want to try and attack a little bit, and it's purely because I see such great upside with some potential options. But anyway, Dylan,
for me, I think you've got to sort out that they always say, don't they? I've read you hear a lot of people talk about assessing the weak areas of your team, and I think defensively you set up well, particularly when you throw Livramento back as a bench option.
Yeah, he's all right.
You got Trossard for next week, so your actually midfield looks all right. You need a plan for Salah, maybe. Your weakness is your forward line. That's what I would do personally.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. I can feel a -8 coming on. I can feel it. I can feel it. And how I think every week, it's like, well, it's only 4 points. It's only 4 points. I don't know. AB says, how did you get to top 100k? Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. And
that is low. That is
get a little bit of stick, but no, I'll see.
Can you do Fergie?
Yeah.
Fergie, can you do something like forget? I think you should forget about De Bruyne. Why don't you do something like Gray to Rafinha, who's a solid long-term pick? He's got a double in 26, and then do Dennis to Ronaldo, and spend most of your money on those two upgrades. You'll still have a bit left to do Dean later on or something.
Yeah.
But that just really upgrades your team and gives, they're not all happening next week, but one of them's happening the week after. So that's all right. Yeah. So just get rid of 2 rubbish players and bring in 2 good ones. And don't take a hit. Well, take a -4, but you're getting that -4 back with 2 extra games.
Yeah. No, I think
the question is though, which 2 rubbish players does he get rid of? Because he's got a few to choose from.
I think.
Well, Gray and Dennis, I would.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
I'm tempted by a -8 now. I think I don't know. I'll see. I just know. I completely agree with you both. I just know how I'll feel myself when Luca Dean keeps clean sheet and gets an assist on the weekend, and I will feel like trash because he's my number 1 target. But you two guys know what you're doing. You're very sensible, and when your records kind of reflect that. My record reflects the fact that I sometimes know what I'm doing, and sometimes I go on a bit of wild one. And as I'm feeling at the moment, I don't know if it is the boredom. I'm tempted to try and attack, but we'll see. Enough of my.
We definitely need on. It's not Fridays. It'll be next Monday, won't it? Next Monday or Tuesday, if you're doing a live stream, you need to use the coin. That's decided. I think you have to use the coin.
Well, on your deadline stream, get the coin out, and your audience will go through.
I might even have to use the coin to decide which one to sell out of Dennis or King, because I'm like
use the coin to filter down the options.
I haven't got a clue. Anyway, let's move on. And now we're moving on to our competition for the week. Game week 23 hasn't finished, so because of that, we can't give the winner yet. Pope is on 10 points at the moment. Obviously, he plays again, so Pope is looking good. There are 3 players on 13 points as well. But we're going to look now to who is the top FPL point scorer in Game Week 24, and for a chance to win one of our fantastic Fantasy Football Hub mugs, which is proudly presented over Rich's As You Look left shoulder. You need to like this video. Make sure you like. Make sure you are subscribed, and then comment on who you think will be the top point scorer for game week 24. Rich, I come to you first. Who do you think is going to be the top point scorer for game week 24?
Go Jotter.
Jotter for Rich. Adam, who do you think is going to be the top point scorer?
Oh, I think it's a tough one.
It is.
Because we're back into single game week territory, aren't we? I'm going to stick with my theory that it often tends to be the defender with a goal and a clean sheet. So I am going to go for... who should we go for? Who's guaranteed? Who do I think I get? Do you know what? I'm going to go for a bit of a random one here. I'm going to go for Kurt Zouma.
Kurt Zouma, West Ham against Watford.
That'll get a clean sheet, and he's good. Yeah, they're good at set pieces. Bowen corner, Zouma header, 15-pointer. That's what I'm going to predict.
Your basket. I'm going to go for Luca Dean. I'm bringing.
I'll take that. If that's
hope you're right.
I think he would do well. In the chat, people are telling me to go with my gut. Fortune favours the brave.
Good.
Fergie says way of life. Fitness. FPL Gaz says
fortune favours the fake coin.
Indeed. K Depar says Fergie pick Keenan Davis. I can't anymore. He's actually been an illegal pick, sadly. But yeah, make sure you get your choices in for a chance to win one of our mugs. Mitesh is still waiting for his. I did get it, Mitesh. It has gone out, but I will look into it. Time now to plug a brilliant initiative which is going on in the FPL community. It's the North versus South football match, which is raising money for the charity Street Child United, which are an organisation hosting 24 teams of street children to take part in the Street Child World Cup Qatar 2022 later this year. This match is being held in Birmingham at the Castlevale Stadium on Saturday the 28th of May. You can either buy a ticket to attend in person for just £5 or make a donation if you like. The link is in the description below. It's a fantastic cause, very well organised event, and very well done to everyone involved. So if you want to do that, the link is in the description below. You can either go and watch. There's lots of kind of FPL Twitter folk playing, and we'll be watching that. So very well done to those involved. I will definitely be contributing to that. Let's take a look at the standings after Game Week 23 at the @FFH_Green Arrow Mini League. In 10th place, Ed Gilliband. 9th, Vil Annanen. 8th, Preston Retzclaff. 7th, Anidra Kunjal. 6th, Alexander Rosen. 5th, Tess Ocklin. 4, Pontus Gunlick, which is a fantastic, isn't that a magnificent name? If I was to choose my name, I think I would want to be called Pontus Gunlick. I think that's a brilliant name. 3rd is Torje Hegner. 2nd, Will Baxter. And top, Steve Sedman, who is 40th overall. So very, very well played. All 10 of you, and obviously especially to Steve, who is top of the shop at the moment. This mini league is now closed to all new entrants, but there will be a Fantasy Football Hub goodie bag prize and free premium membership for first place. And that is it from us for this week. We hope you've enjoyed. Apologies again. Rich's audio has been a bit kind of in and out with his internet. We'll see if we can get that fixed. But thank you so much for all staying with us, and we hope you enjoyed the week. Adam, thank you so much as usual for joining us. Where can people get hold of you?
A Hopcroft 13 on Twitter.
Fantastic. And Rich, where can people get hold of you?
You're on mute.
Sorry,
Rich.
I'm muting. At Rich Clarke FPL on Twitter. Thank you.
Superb. My Twitter handle is @FFH_Fergie. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button and remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Leave a comment. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are @FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is @FFH_Green Arrow. Make sure you drop us a follow. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football and FPL all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, points predictions tools, and much, much more, including Rich's pre-deadline team reveal every single week. To join the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers and sign up to the hub, choose all our amazing resources. Click the top link in the description below. You will not regret it, and you may notice, hopefully notice, something new in the next week too, which is incredibly exciting. We will be back next week, probably back, I think, Thursday, because obviously the deadline now is Tuesday and the game's being played till Thursday, so we'll probably be back next Thursday, looking ahead to double game week 25. We wish you the very, very best of luck for the remainder of Game Week 23 and for Game Week 24. Stay safe, and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.